Hello everyone and welcome to the Daryl Talks podcast. Today we have got Noel Hill. He has been a submariner. He has been a rugby coach. He has been a shoemaker, and there are a couple of jobs that not even I would want to do that this man has done, but a truly inspiring episode with a really nice guy. Please give it the big one for Noel. So thank you, Noel. Before we start, I would just like to go through a few icebreaker questions. So question number 1, what is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Apart from taking 24 colts to Italy in 2008 and not one of them getting arrested, which I think that was pretty good. But
I hate to tell you, but there were arrests. You just didn't know
about
about
I just
them.
didn't know. Okay, fine. And this is where I have to mention getting married and having 3 wonderful children and 5 fantastic grandchildren. I would imagine surfacing in a submarine at the North Pole, maybe.
I don't think I'm going to be able to get that answer ever again.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Did you see Santa?
We did, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did. And we had our photograph taken with him.
Really?
Yeah. He was all right. We kept him warm. He did resemble our coxswain, John Watchman. Yeah, we played cricket at the North Pole.
So
yeah.
What would your go-to karaoke song be?
Oh, dear. It's not very exciting, but I've always been a very great Jimi Hendrix fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was my era. Him, Clapton, Cream, all that lot, the Stones. But it's got to be Jimi Hendrix singing Red House.
Oh, okay.
That's my go-to, and that's one I want at my funeral.
Do you have a hidden talent or skill that you don't often get to showcase?
I'd like to think in another life that I could have been an actor.
I can imagine that.
I've always fancied having a go. I've never had the opportunity really to sort of try and see what it's like, but I mean, obviously at school you do your nativities and all the rest of it. But I used to be considered quite a comedian when I was younger. I can't remember. I have trouble remembering them now. That's the biggest problem. But yeah, I would have loved to have had a go at being an actor.
You would have been a great dame.
A Great Dane or a Great Dame? Yeah, I was once told by a guy that who did quite well with the BBC. He said, "You've got that kind of face, Noel." He said, "Just send the BBC a photograph."
Wow,
and that's what he said. And I never did that, and I just thought, nah, I can't do that. But yeah, he said, and see what happens. That's all he said. Send him a photograph, see what happens.
So hello, Noel.
Hello, Daryl.
Thank you so much for coming on the Daryl Talks podcast. It's been actually quite a few years since we've had a proper conversation.
Yeah,
so
certainly has.
First off, how do we know each other?
Well, I think it was way back in. I'm not quite sure when you actually started playing rugby, but was it Colts? Did you come straight into Colts?
Yeah.
Or were you junior before that?
I was junior before, but I was heavily football.
Yeah, I remember.
And
I
went through a transition.
Good at footy, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
I played for Plymouth Argyle.
That's right.
And I actually left Plymouth Argyle to join your team.
See, look at that. That's amazing. It must have been about 2007 then, round about there. Because we went to Italy.
Yeah.
I took you all to Italy in 2008.
Yeah, because I was playing for school, but I didn't join Saltash. And I remember my first ever training session, Max Parfit elbowed me by accident, and I actually heard bells. He hit me that hard, I actually heard bells.
Oh dear. But it didn't put you off, did it?
No, either that or it done so much damage that I just carried on and I was stupid about it.
Yeah, it was great. I remember you were a speed freak, weren't you? You were very, very fast and an excellent winger. And being an ex-footy player, we thought, well, we'll put him out there and
there are some
hopefully he'll be all right.
Unfortunately, when I play vets and stuff now, they still think I'm a winger. And I'm built more like a prop.
Oh, no. but once you get that tag, you see, that's it, really. You get that label and it's like, oh, he's good for that. Even though you're hanging out your backside after 20 minutes, or whatever.
So you are a rugby coach?
Well, I was a rugby coach.
You were a
yeah.
rugby.
I actually I stopped. I finished coaching in 2019 when the age group that I'd had from 6, which involved my grandson, got to seniors. Went right the way through to Colts and then to seniors. So that was when I actually stopped coaching. Was then that was my aim, was to stop it in 2019 when they actually transitioned from Colts to seniors. Yeah.
That's incredible. I'd say you saw us because I think you were just Colts, weren't you?
When I started with your age group, it was they were under 14s.
Under 14s
with Lewis Wells, Ryan Rayner, Sam Snell, all that lot.
Will Morton.
Will was a year younger.
Yeah,
and he came along afterwards because he played up into us because he was good.
He was always around.
Yeah, he was always there. Yeah, he was always there. Yeah, it was John Martin. Do you remember John Martin?
Yeah.
I mean, he got me involved in 2005. He just said, "I need some help with the forwards." He said, we need a forwards coach." And I said, "Oh, okay, fine." And I think about 4 weeks after I actually showed up, all of a sudden, strangely, John had disappeared, and I was left holding the baby, holding you lot, basically. And that's where it started. So,
for somebody who doesn't know Noel, if you had to draw a rugby forward, I would say that Noel is the epitome of what maybe an old school forward would look like. Nowadays, they are
they are taller now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When I used to play, you could get away with all sorts. Burrowing in and doing all kinds. Up to all kinds of jiggery pokery in the scrum and in the loose. In the rucks and stuff. Now it's just so big. They're so powerful. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And the front row for me was the only place. It's true what they say. Anybody can play rugby. Any size, shape. Anybody can have a go because position for everybody in rugby. And I was absolutely rubbish at football all the way through school. I had not a clue about football, really. Didn't have a lot of interest in it. And then I just started to click with rugby. I enjoyed athletics, but I actually, the shot put and discus, the bigger bits because of my build and stuff. But then got into rugby and just automatically was put, "You're a prop. Go there," and that's where I never went anywhere else. I went on the wing once for a giggle, and it was the most boring thing I'd ever done. So I thought, nah, get me back in there.
Yes,
I just loved it. It's a whole world on its own in the front row, and you have to experience it to realise what I'm talking about. Really, it's a completely different kettle of fish in there.
I think I've been in one scrum. I've hardly been in a ruck.
Yeah.
So,
but you can. I mean, you could come off the pitch having lost the game heavily, but know that you won the scrums. You held your own, or you did even better in the front row, and you were quite pleased about what you'd done. You could get a whole new feeling out of that.
Yeah, it's a bit anticlimactic for the backs.
It can be.
Not all the backs, because the 9 in 10 could have a great game. They can do,
but I've got a theory that, to be honest, all numbers from 9 to 15 are completely supernumerary on a rugby pitch. It's just numbers 1 to 8 that count. They're just, 9 to 15, just there to pretty boys, make it look good, make it, collars up, nice and clean. We do the grunt and they get all the glory. So,
I've come off a pitch cleaner.
There you go. Yeah, I'm very passionate about the game. I didn't come into it until quite late, really, not playing properly. It wasn't until I actually moved over here to Saltash that I actually started playing rugby properly. When I decided that I was in the Navy, I didn't want to play for a services club. I didn't want to go to Denport Services.
Because that's the go-to, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're always thinking, could I get a Navy cap? And you've got to play for a team like Denport Services or US Pompey, one of those teams to actually...
They like a feeder team, basically.
Exactly. It's like I suppose you could call it like a Navy Academy, if you like. And I just thought, weekends, I want to play with a civvy club. And so... we moved over here on April Fool's Day, 1976. I started in the September playing rugby. Been with the club ever since, most of the time anyway. Been a member of the club ever since.
Is there any reason you've stuck there? Or is it just laziness?
I like to consider myself as a very passionate person. And when I believe in something, I like to see it through and do the absolute best I can and the most I can to help that cause, And Saltash Rugby Club, that's the way I've always felt about it. It was my first proper rugby club, my first rugby club ever. I'd never played for another club. All I'd ever done was Wednesday afternoon ship rugby in the Navy. That was all I'd ever done. The only civvy teams I'd ever played were when we went on jollies, when we visited, where did we go? We went to Butlins at...
Minehead?
No, on the Welsh side. And I mean, they kicked the living hell out of us, It was a feeder team for Bridgend. Retired players from Bridgend were coming to play for Lantwick Major, and we were, it was... Barry Island was Butlins. That's it, Barry Island, yeah. So that was the only other experience I'd had. So I found it very friendly, apart from the fact that I was not Cornish, and I think it was probably about 2 years before anybody actually passed me the ball, because don't give it he's a foreigner. You know, it was a bit like that. I just got into it. I loved it. I loved the ethos of it. I loved the drinking, the singing afterwards, because in those days it was proper job, It was really good fun. We always had a good old sing-song. There were no leagues. We weren't in any league. There were senior clubs and junior clubs. We were a junior club. Didn't even know how you got to be a senior club, We the likes of Redruth and Campbell, and they were a senior club. We'd only ever play them in the Cornwall Cup and get pasted. There was the trips to Besançon, the affiliated French team that Saltash got going. Went there a couple of times. They came over to us. We put people up, players up here. When I finished with you guys in 2008, 2009, my grandson was starting to come through. He was 6. So I always wanted him to play rugby, and he seemed keen. Whether he actually did it just for me or not, I really don't know. But my daughter's, she loves rugby. My boys, I've got two boys, there's Matt and Duncan and Lucy. They all love rugby. So I started coaching him, got Neil Hunt involved, his lad Will, he was with me. We had Lee Mayer as well, he was part of it. Then for some strange reason, somebody said, the youth chairman is standing down. And it was Mark Statton at the time, and he was, that's right, he was going to be the county youth chairman. So he wanted to stand down as the Saltash youth chairman. And somebody said, you'd be all right at that. I thought, really? Would I? 10 years later, there I am, I'm still there. So I'd seen my grandson through with the team, and I'd also been coach and youth chairman through to 2019. Then in 2019, the current club chairman resigned. They said to me, right, you've got chairman in your title, so therefore, and I was like, come on, crikey. So I tried to do both for a year, and it didn't work very well, because I was so 100% youth, and I had been, I'd fought for the youth through all that time. Because there was quite a few dinosaurs when I went into the committee, because you sit on the exec committee of the club, quite a few dinosaurs who, youth, blimey, a waste of time, and blah, blah, blah. They had no vision of what we were producing. And now you look at the last Saturday's team sheet.
Yeah, all but one, wasn't there?
All but one, which is finance. Every single one was a product of the youth.
And again, he's a Saltash boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
We're not going to hold that against him. Just because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever. But his lad's in the under-8s now, I think. So, he's already paving the way. I realised I couldn't do both. It was stretching me too much. It was pulling me apart a bit. And I thought, no, I've got to be down the middle here. I've really got to be down the middle. I managed they voted me in at the AGM that year. So I got sort of voted in properly, if you like, because I was almost like a caretaker, to start with. And then I was happier when I got voted in, when I realised that they actually wanted me. I think it was possibly that there just wasn't anybody else, but we won't. I shall...
you just take it.
Yeah, I'll just take it like that, So here I am, if the AGM's rings true and I'm still in place, I'll be going into my fifth season as the club chairman, and it's about having something to contribute, I think, and I feel that I've still got something to contribute, although I am aware that there's a lot of younger guys, and it's a whole different world now, and you've got to keep up with it. You can either try and run with it, or leave it alone, or if not, you just fall by the wayside a little bit, because there's so many different ideas.
Do you think you'll like have a moment where you're like, do you know what? I've got the energy to try and keep up anymore.
Possibly.
Right, or will you just go until they kick you out?
I don't want to finish under a cloud in any way. I'd like it to be as pleasant as possible, But I think when the time comes, I think I'll know, and that's when. And I don't want to overstay my welcome. I'll do it until I feel that I haven't got any more to give, really, and I haven't really.
Are these paid positions, or are they just purely voluntary?
No, completely voluntary. Yeah,
we don't pay commitment.
We don't pay anybody, mate. We can't afford to pay.
No. I can still hear your shouting.
Yeah, it was always very noisy.
It's literally tuned. Liz remembers your shouting. She can still remember back when we first met when we were 16.
Really?
Yeah. And she could still remember because we went up to Reading. We got up to a final.
Oh, yeah, no, we went to Henley on Thames.
That's it.
And we played a London side at Ilminster.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they beat us, didn't they?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And she went up to... She followed us all the way around, really.
Yeah.
Great.
It was great.
Like, it was a bunch of ragamuffins turned into a rugby team. It was amazing.
Because it was a little bit hit and miss. And then all of a sudden... we just seemed to click.
We had a couple of Plymouth boys come over.
Yeah, we had some,
and they made a world of difference.
Services lads.
They really fit in. And the one thing about rugby is I could bump into somebody that I only played with once, and for some reason you just remember because you went to war with them.
Yeah, that's right. It just clicked, doesn't it? It just all clicks.
There's people
that's rugby.
Yeah, there's people I played football with, multiple times, who still walk past me, and we're in a field. And it's just us.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference in the family sense.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that you were in the Navy.
Yeah.
So when did you join the Navy?
I left school at 15, 1964. So I was 15, joined HMS Ganges, a juniors training establishment up in Shotley near Ipswich. Always wanted to join the Navy. All my dad, my granddad, my uncles, they're all Navy. My dad was actually at the Battle of Jutland in the First World War at the age of 17.
No way.
Yeah, on the Canterbury. Yeah, so, and I was fine until I got to Ganges, and I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing the right thing here? Anyway, I did. I survived that, joined the fleet like you did. I got a draft to the Victorious, which was an aircraft carrier. That took me out the Far East, so at the age of 16, 17, I was in Singapore and Hong Kong and the Philippines, and it was like, wow. And Australia, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, out the Far East on an aircraft carrier, unbelievable. Then we got rushed back to Aden because that was when the Aden crisis was on, which was 1967, where they were getting all the British women and kids out because the Arab separatists were all kicking off, and that was a bit nasty. But we had fighter jets on board, and we just kept diving down low over them every day. It was like strafing, but without dropping any bombs. But we were just saying, we're here, here we are, we're here, that kind of thing. We hung around until they all got evacuated. Anyway, we settled down. We thought, right, well, we're over this end, so now we're going to end up going back through Suez, and we'll go home. And it'll be lovely. And we got into the Med, and we started, everything started to quieten down, and we all started topping up the old tan, and there was no flying going on. The flight deck was all clear. We were just bronzy on the flight deck, enjoying life. And all of a sudden, Egypt decided to invade Israel, didn't they? And that was the Arab-Israeli 6-day war. And we were like, shit. What now? Because we went from bronzy, back to guns firing, planes taking off, because we had to get like worked up again just in case, because we obviously would have supported Israel like we do now, but they didn't really need us because it was all over in 6 days. The Israelis got back to Gibraltar for our last sort of foreign visit, and then all these postings came in, and all the young lads, bar very, very few, all got posted to submarines, including me. And this was because they'd started the nuclear program. Prior to that, all submariners were volunteers. Well, of course, when they brought out the Polaris submarines with 2 crews and the hunter-killer submarines, that had crews of 100 plus, and they still had all the diesel, the conventional submarines as well to man. They just didn't have the manpower.
What did you do in the...
I was underwater weapons. So I was an armourer. I used to look after all the torpedoes. Everything that went bang, exploded, basically.
Christ.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you were like that sort of dangerous.
But yeah, it was... so I went from being just a dabto seaman, painting and chipping paintwork and all that, and polishing brightwork. I mean, you still had to do that in a submarine, don't get me wrong, but it was much, much more technical. Hence the submarine pay. You get enhanced pay for the knowledge the extra knowledge that you need. It just opened me up completely. It was a whole different world for me.
Did it stink down there?
Oh yeah,
I imagine
absolutely,
it to absolutely
mate,
stink.
You were not aware of it
at the time
because you were part of it. I just remember when I was in training, I spent 2 days on an old T-class diesel electric boat, sea training. There were 6 of us on it, and we joined it on the Thursday morning, and we got it off it on the Friday afternoon, and we all had weekend leave, so we were late, so we all just went straight to the mess, got changed, grabbed a kit, and away we went. And we got on the train. It was full when we got in, but by the time we got to, I don't know, halfway to London, the whole it was empty. We were like, what is it? And we were absolutely stinking. We had no idea. Diesel and sort of like cabbage. My mum, whenever I went home, she used to just throw my bag straight out the back into the garden and deal with it later. Nikki, my wife, very, very similar. I had one diesel boat, which was a 1946 A-class submarine designed to lay mines in the Pacific. And that was my first submarine. And that was my baptism of fire, Yeah, but it was great. And then after that, I had 3 nuclear submarines after that. I got drafted to nukes. Again, I didn't want to go to nuclear submarines. I wanted to stay in diesel boats, but the Navy says, nah, this is what you're going to do, and, you're going to love it. I wouldn't change a thing. It was the making of me.
What's it like having to go, yes sir, no sir?
But,
I can't imagine. Because it's proper like ass kissy, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it has to be, because there has to be that regime, otherwise it just wouldn't work, wouldn't it? If we all just walked around saying, yeah, I'll do it, but maybe later. And it just wouldn't work. You've got to have a hierarchy. To be honest, when I joined up in 64 at Ganges, they just said jump, and most of the time you were still up there. You know what I mean? You didn't land.
At what stage did you meet your wife?
My wife was in the Wrens.
No, what? Yeah. She's Navy as well.
She was a Jenny Wren. Yeah. She was an officer's cook, which is why you can see I do all right off of that. And I met her. She was in the Clyde submarine base in Faslane, up in Scotland, as ship's company. So she was working in the wardroom galley, feeling the officers. I just met her at the, I don't know, I think it was the Saturday night hop in the canteen one night, with some music on, and away we went. Strangely enough, when I first met her, I was dancing with the table.
With the table? With
a table, because I'd had a few, and I knew that no bird would want to dance with me, so I asked this table if it wanted to dance, and it didn't refuse, so I thought, yeah, okay. So, yeah, took the table for a dance. She saw me, and she obviously thought, he's got something.
She likes a man with wood.
He's got a table. He's got a table I want. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so, yeah, that's the story. Anyway, we just got to know each other. I went out with her mate first, but... yeah, she was...
Is she still friends with that mate?
Yeah, I think they're still in contact. Yeah,
No way.
yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Are you still in contact with some of your like?
Oh yeah,
Because it is a proper thing.
It
isn't
is a bit of a club, I must admit.
Because you've got like dolphins on your
yeah.
cards,
We wear a dolphins, which you earn. You know, obviously, submariners earn their dolphins. There's a lot of them that can't let it go. I'm not one of those. I had no problem letting it go, but still like to know how the guys are getting on. There's a big reunion every year here over in Devonport. For the 2nd Submarine Squadron, they always called it the Sunshine Squadron, and every March they have a reunion. And I've only ever been once, and I met a load of guys that I remember. It was great, but it's just a piss up at the end of the day, and that's basically what it was. You know, there's another group that I go and have a breakfast with every sort of maybe 2 months, something like that. And that's a smaller group, probably about 15 of us. And we go to the engine house in Callington.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go up there and we have a brekkie.
Cool.
And then we go back to good old mate of mine, Martin Brough, Navy rugby player. And he's got a small holding and he brews his own cider. And that's where we sort of finish it off, really. Yeah, I don't hang on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I totally get
because
that.
Because I wanted to get on with other stuff. You know, like I said, you know, I left the Navy and started my own business, and you ain't got time for all that hanging on stuff. You got to earn a living.
So you did all right coming out of the Navy?
I did okay. I knew. I mean, I did 27 years altogether. You know, I left as a warrant officer first class, which is the highest I could get as a non-commissioned rank. You know, so yeah, I left in 91, 27 years. Walked out the gates, no fanfare. You know, no dancing girls, no nothing. It's like, oh, right, that's it then. I'm done. Yeah, take your ID card and away you go. Yeah, I started. This is all based around Nikki, really. She was designing kids' knitwear at the time, and we had mums that were saying, "Oh, it'd be lovely to have shoes to complement these," and that just sowed a little bit of a seed. For my last couple of years, I thought, right, I wonder how difficult it would be to make shoes. And I knew that, you know, your Lokes of London were, you know, they were like craftsmen. And I thought, just don't think I've got enough time to do all that. But there was a simpler method, and it was brought about by the Boers in South Africa. They used to make their own shoes, and they called them veldschoen, which means field shoe. And it's basically based on your desert boot. If you think about a desert boot,
yeah,
they're stitched on the outside, whereas your normal shoes, what are you wearing? Are you wearing trainers?
I'm wearing socks because I'm a gentleman.
You took your shoes
I'm a
off,
gentleman in your
Absolutely.
house.
Absolutely. Can't use that as an example then. Most shoes are tucked under, right? Which means that they're made on a thing called a last. With these, they're made like a bag to the correct size, but then they're steamed, and then a last is forced into them. So it's called forced lasting. That would take up the shape. It would fit because of your pattern, and the patterns were the correct size. Lo and behold, there you go. You've got a pair of shoes. And that's the route that we went down. We were already, before I left the Navy, whenever I had some spare time, we would do shows. Now, what I mean by shows is agricultural shows like the Royal Cornwall, Devon. We'd do horse trials like badminton, we'd things like that, and so we used to take the knitwear, and away we go. We'd mainly do Christmas shows because that's when I was more or less available, you know, with the Navy, etc. So the plan was make the shoes, take them to shows, take orders, sell off the shelves if we can, but take orders, do it like that. And I had a unit up on the Saltash Industrial Estate here as well. We used to advertise, and we used to get a reasonable amount of local trade, but not huge. The main whack of it came from doing the shows. So it was hard work because just about every weekend during the season, which ran from about May to right the way through to about September, October time. And then there was always a brunt of like 6 Christmas shows that you could do at these major showgrounds, you know, where you put on just a craft marquee as opposed to all the tractors and sheep and everything else. They were the bulk of the income, and so that's how we started, and we kicked off. The Navy allow you, providing you can be spared, they allow you to do resettlement courses. I was thinking, right, you know, I need to find out more about what I'm actually doing here, I managed to find a 2-week intensive shoe pattern making course up in Accrington, the Rossendale Valley, which is like a hive of shoe factories, And there was a college there, Rossendale College. And I went there for 2 weeks. They taught me how to make patterns, basic shoes, the boots, shoes, ankle boots, sandals, T-bar sandals for kids, all that kind of stuff. But we started making kids to start with because of the knitwear still. So we had the knitwear on display and the shoes. And then, of course, people kept coming to us and saying, I'd wear a pair of those. Oh, God, what should we do? Should we go adult? What should we do? And so we decided to bite the bullet. And
you still got shoes like knocking about?
Yeah, I've got a couple of pairs down in my garage, I think. But yeah, no, I mean, we made some good stuff.
Yeah.
We did, and we had lots and lots of happy customers. They had the tag of hippie shoes because you could have them in multicolours, and you could choose your colours if you were having them made.
Do you custom make them as well?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, we used to draw around the feet, take a width measurement, and then from that transcribe that into a size. So if you had people with whopping great wide feet, we could cater for that. Or the only way they could buy a pair is like I'm a 9, but I have to buy an 11 to get the width or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'd make them the right length and but make them wider, put them on a wider base. You've got some kids that look like slippery little mackerel feet,
Yeah.
Tiny little slivers of feet. They couldn't keep a shoe on. Unless it was laced up really tight or whatever. So we'd make them to fit them. And, we never charged enough money for it. We were always chasing their tail because made to measure for kids. You can imagine, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be ready in 4 weeks. You really had to go some because you knew that if anything over that, then the mum was saying, how much wear am I going to get out of these?
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit more cutthroat. You've been a used car salesman. You know where I'm coming from. And we just weren't. I wasn't, I just wasn't of that ilk. It just didn't suit me. I had a couple of advisors that said, you're not charging enough. And we had 5 people we were employing. They were still a responsibility, and I still had to pay them.
But like Lyra's shoes now, we took her to Clark's to get her feet tested and stuff. Tested?
Measured. Yeah, measured. Measured.
Tested her feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were definitely feet.
She's definitely got, 5 toes on each foot. Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
In Cornwall, you cannot be
I
too
know.
careful.
There's always that odd web one on the edge, isn't there?
But it's like super expensive.
But at the time, for a pair of kids' like little ankle boots, we were charging probably around about 34 quid. And that was, to me, like top whack. Particularly down here, where we are. If we'd have been in London, different. Truro, possibly. Exeter, maybe. A little bit, I didn't want to scare everybody off. We were forever thinking, we made lots of special shoes for disabled people, that couldn't get shoes to fit anywhere, anyhow. We had a few, shall we say, interesting customers that a lot of, transvestites, aren't they?
Yeah.
And we had a guy come down from Reading one time on the train, and it was an interesting conversation. He was as nice as pie. And I said, who are they for? Oh, me? We're talking about a pair of pink T-bar sandals here. And I said, oh, so when will you wear them? He said, on special occasions, possibly at weekends. It was
and luckily,
like, oh, right.
Did you just lend him a pair of yours?
Yeah. But
can you even look at feet now?
When you go into a shoe shop and you see an assistant measuring a child's feet and they're sitting down and you say, you should be standing up, really. Full weight on the foot, stretching it out. You should never measure feet sat down. You've had it now because of your age, mate. But if when you're a little girl and your new baby want shoes, just have a little think about it. Yeah, 2001, Foot and Mouth came along. Just about blew us out of the water, that did, to be honest. All the shows were cancelled.
Of course.
No animals could be moved. Couldn't get to any of the stately homes because of the deer. It was an absolute bloody nightmare. I did, that year, I think we were doing something like, 30 to 40 shows a year. right? So just about every weekend, plus the Christmas run.
And that was all gone?
And that was, I think that year we did about 4. So first thing we had to do was lay everybody off. That was hard. And I brought it all home because we started here at home making them. That's where we started. We started in the garage and a shed, machinery in the garage, buffers and stuff. And for about 6 months, I tried to maintain the same level on my own. And I just couldn't do it. I just thought, this is stupid. I saw an advert for the child support agency. The first of the jobs that everybody hates you for is, trying to get money out of, absent parents. And
was that horrible? Because I imagine you've got to be a certain type of person to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was very, very different. It was a lot of intense training. Our team, we were a pilot for doing everything on the phone.
Right.
As opposed to by post, filling in the forms, sending them off based on the information that the mum provided. If you got a phone number, I was on a solid shift pattern from 1 till 9:30 at night, Monday to Friday. So you'd be phoning normally after tea, around about 7, half 7. And sometimes they'd be in the pub. And they really, really wanted to talk to you when they were in the pub, having a few beers. You can imagine. You can imagine what it was like. And of course, you never used to say, "Oh, this is I'm Noel from the Child Support Agency." You'd say, "This is Bert from the Department of Work and Pensions," and the first thing you get is, "Who? Where? What?" And it was like just try and sort of lead them into the conversation. Do you remember Miss So and So? And do you're aware that you're the father of, and then it would either be okay or not so okay. You'd get verbals 9 times out of 10. Being of the disposition that I am, I used to quite enjoy speaking to some of them. And the information from the mums was, his name was Darren, and this is his phone number. Darren, yeah, Darren. That was it, or whatever, and that's all you get. And you'd say, "Hello, is that Darren?" "Yeah." And it's like, right, okay. Are you familiar with Miss who?
Yeah.
Oh, dear me. And it would be a bit like that. But, I had a Sky Sports presenter we were chasing one time. And he said, I was earning 11,000 quid at the time per annum.
Is that what was that like then?
That was not brilliant.
Yeah,
not really, not at all. How much? I'm only on 50 grand. I said, what, a year? Yeah, that's all I get. Oh, right, mate. Okay. Ka-ching. Yeah, right. So, because they had to pay a percentage of their wages, Oh, right, okay. There's me and my miserable little 11 grand, like thinking, yeah.
I'll enjoy this one a bit
well,
more.
you can help it. And he was quite a nice guy to talk to.
Yeah.
So I only did that for about a year. A job came up, the camera unit for the Devon and Cornwall Police. And I thought initially it was CCTV, watching CCTV, just monitoring it. But it wasn't. It was to do with speed cameras. And I thought, okay, fair enough. A very good mate of mine, who I joined Submarines with, he was a speed detection officer. So he was one step ahead of me. He was actually one of the guys that did the maintenance on the Gatso roadside cameras, the big yellow boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
And he also manned laser cameras in the van. So he was pinging speeding vehicles, from bridges or wherever. All these hiding places that apparently everybody thinks they hide at, but I can assure you they don't. But I applied for it, I got it, and I was, to start with, for about the first two years, I was working in what they call the back office, which was viewing the offences to check that they were correct, that they were proper offences.
Oh, so they do get sent for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, they all get looked at. Yeah,
by a human.
Yeah. And you're trained to see what you're looking at. How many lines have gone over. The graduated lines on the road. Yeah. All that's got to be clear. Number plates got to be clear. It's all got to be proper. It's all got to be properly done. We used to bin quite a few. You'd be amazed at how many we actually just ditched. Because they weren't worthy of making a case out of it.
Yeah.
Because if whoever it was, the driver kicked off about it and said, "I'm going to court, I want to take it to court," you had to make sure that what you were presenting was 100%. Otherwise he was just going to kick. You get your butt kicked, wouldn't you? And nobody wanted that. So did that. So got quite a good background there, and then they expanded the actual speed detection role. And a couple of vacancies came up for that, so I was like,
so
there.
You were in the back of vans?
I was the man in the van, pinging away, pinging parked Subarus just in case, because Subarus were fair game all the time. You could hear them coming.
What was it like when you told people that was what you did?
You didn't make it. You didn't broadcast it much, Darryl.
Did you just say you were a police officer?
No. It's just, no. Never say that. Croco should say, I work for the police. I'm a civilian. I work for the police. Yeah. Oh yeah. What do you do? I work in an office. Or whatever.
It's a need to know.
It's a need to know. Yeah. I can't. If I tell you, I've got to kill you. Usual routine.
Are there actually some that they don't have any film in them or whatever?
Lots of there's quite a few. I mean, at that time, we only had so many cameras, and we had lots and lots of camera housings. Plymouth's littered with them, as you probably know.
Yeah.
Twice a week you'd rotate them around the camera housings. You'd leave some in the ones where if they were doing a good job and they needed it, they would stay. But otherwise, you'd move them out to the periphery ones. But now, of course, it's all.
Digital now.
Digital. It's. They were They were German cameras that German reconnaissance used to use during the Second World War.
No way.
They were 36mm film, black and white, wet film as we called it. All had to go to Exeter and get processed. Then we go up and collect them, and then we view them. We view the films.
Way.
Yeah, you'd load the film up and view it.
Was there ways of cheating them?
Dirty number plates.
Because there's like that film that some people have.
Not really. No, it didn't work. 2 going through at the same time was always a good one. If you had, on the graduated lines, because they worked off radar. It very, very rarely. But I noticed that is now a digital. Oh yeah.
Have you?
By my own traffic cop, 50 and a 40 on. Coming up to Marsh Mills, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, bastard. Yeah, so did that till 2014, and then I retired.
It's been 10 years retired now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, 10.
How has it been being retired?
It was a bit strange, but I sort of felt like I'd smooth.
Because some people really struggle with it.
Yeah,
so
they do. But I had rugby.
Yeah, of course.
I had
this
rugby,
whole time
mate.
You were basically
the whole
full-time.
time. Youth chairman and still coaching. I had all that still.
Do you think when some people do retire and just stop, causes a downhill?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably a bit dramatic, but it's a bit like a death sentence if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Because, if you go into cabbage mode, you have to have something. You have to keep your brain ticking over, which is why I will keep this chairmanship going for as long as as I said before, feel that I can do it, because it does it.
Well, thank you so much for letting me do this in your home.
That's all right, mate.
It's
I do feel
amazing.
like I've rambled on.
That's okay. The power of editing.
Yeah, I know.
Well, everyone, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Please keep sharing, keep following, keep contributing. It really means a lot to me.